Next one is the plain folks pitch. This is when there's a new technology, new product out there, and they're telling the people, this is how this new product fits into my life. This is how it fits into your life. Okay? This is why you should buy it. This would just fit in perfectly for who you are. You, that shopper. So you need to buy this because this would fit in perfectly to you. They're not going to try to hoodwink you with fancy celebrities or sparkly lights. They're going to say, this product or service fits in perfectly for who you are, John or Jane Q. Public. This is why you need to buy this. The next is a snob appeal approach. They're advertising certain items that many people need, but they're better. It's like your luxury cars. Yes, you need some sort of transportation, but do you really need the Porsche 975? I don't even know if it's a number. That's an actual number. But or the Mercedes. Or I need the Rolls Royce. You don't really need it, but anybody who's anybody will want to be noticed if they have this certain product. And they even do it with water. I mean, it's water. And, but it's from the mountains of remote France, so that makes it better. And people buy it. You know, is it what is it? It's just basically water, and it's got nice packaging, but people fall for it because it's the best. But this will continue to work. Then, of course, there's the bandwagon effect. Everyone get on the bandwagon. We all love this. Everybody, America's favorite fill in the blank. This is America's favorite pizza. This is America's favorite burger joint. This is America's favorite shoe. Everybody wants to be included. Everyone wants to be on the biggest, newest, greatest trend. That's what the bandwagon effect is. Has always worked, will continue to work from now on to many, many years in the future. But then you go on to the other side. Then you also have the hidden fear appeal. All right, what is the hidden fear appeal? Well, hidden fear appeal deals with people and their insecurities. Things that we all need. Deodorant. Oh no, you smell terribly. Your deodorant failed you. If you don't do that, if you don't buy this certain product, you're doomed. You will stink. You will have terrible hair. Your breath will be terrible, and everybody will run away when they try to talk to you. Oh no! Oh no, what will you do? There's the hidden fear appeal, because you don't want that to happen, do you? Then there's the irritation advertising. These are the things that are supposed to get on your nerves. But in another way, you remember it. It gets stuck in your head. And then there's the chance that you might just buy it. You might have noticed some local car dealerships that use this tactic because they're local car dealerships. Kind of like this one.
Experience the Dean's difference at Dean's Auto Plaza.
Dean's difference.
Tired of the same old...
See, my wife hates this commercial. It runs up in Pennsylvania by us. You know, it's based in Hanover, which is in York County. It's not that far away from Towson, but it works. They remember that annoying woo. It's so aggravating. WPMT Fox 43 in York had this dealership as a sponsor for their high school football frenzy. For every Friday night, they had that program. He became one of their sponsors. They even did a promo with this guy to advertise the high school football show. So that shows you it still works. Now we're dealing with what is called the association principle. All right, basically it's a pretty simple concept, but it works very well. And you'll be able to answer some questions of why do they do this. Well, basically they're trying to come up with some value, some image that has no actual connection or reality to what that is being sold. One of the best examples of this is when you're watching a car commercial and you see the car. Oh, look at the car. It's going through the wheat fields, or it's going through the mountains in this nice winding road. Look at it. Oh, it seems so wonderful, just flowing back and forth and up the hills and over to grandmother's house we go. But think about when you're really driving. It's traffic jams a lot of the times. It's waiting in traffic. It's stopping for every other light. It's showing how wonderfully that car is cruising, how nice it looks in an environment chances are you may never see yourself in. Maybe you do one day, but for the most part you don't. But it doesn't matter. It looks nice. It flows. It's going so wonderfully. But it has no real sense of reality with it. Another instance, it could be something such as patriotism. After September 11th, there were commercials produced in a patriotic way to harness the feelings of what was going on afterwards. Believe it or not, the country was very united at that time. We had just been attacked. Over 3,000 people were brutally murdered in a heinous, disgusting attack. For a little while there, the country was united, despite our previous disagreements and political leanings and different groupings. And people actually got along for a little while because it was somebody else. There was someone else who attacked us, and we all huddled together and came together as one. And of course, as we know, that's gone to hell. Advertisers saw this. They saw a big surge in patriotism, and they, in some ways, worked that into their advertising campaigns to take advantage of the feelings of that time. So now we've got the association principle, but believe it or not, there's a disassociation principle. Basically, what this is sometimes there's a company that puts out a certain product, and maybe sometimes people don't necessarily like that product, or maybe they've done something bad, or they've messed up in some way, or maybe they're just considered to be a certain level that they would never sell this product. What they'll do is they create something that might be similar to what they do, but they know they can't get away with it by using their name. One such example is the Gallo Wine Company. They were the biggest winery in the country. They had for a little while there, they had some labor issues with some migrant workers working in their fields. Plus, they had this aura of being wine. So what did they do? They created...
Hello there. My name is Frank Bartles, and this is Ed James.
Bartles and James, wine coolers. It was back in the 80s. I remember this. I loved those commercials. I didn't think there was a Frank Bartles and Ed James. I didn't think they had their own little wine cooler company, because wine coolers started to become real popular back then. So Gallo decided they wanted to get in on the popularity of this because, they are a wine company. They knew they couldn't get away with selling, Gallo wine coolers, so they created a fake brand, a fake name. I thought it might have been owned by some other corporate entity, and it was, but I didn't know it was a wine company. Take a look at this.
You know, I had almost forgotten the 4th of July was coming up, which would have been embarrassing, as that is Ed's sister's nephew, Oscar's birthday. So every year, just about everybody takes off work and has a picnic or fireworks in legally approved areas.
So you see these two older guys, and they were pretty funny. I like these ads. And it worked. It worked very, very well. It was it had a very big mainstream following, very middle class following. People loved the commercials, and they gave those wine coolers a try, even though most people didn't realize they were from Gallo. So we see an example right there how that works.
Thank you very much for your support.
Okay, now we segue over to advertising as a myth and story. Now what this is it's a process, okay? It's being able to analyze and see how the ad works at a cultural level, all right? It's not just talking about, of course, you may be used to myths being fairy tales or untrue stories. What it does is it helps us define people. It could be organizations, norms of what society's like. And basically it says that most of these commercials that you are watching, they're narratives. They're stories. That they're stories to tell, and they've got certain conflicts, especially social conflicts, that can be resolved. and basically a lot of times with the products that they're advertising. There are three common myth elements that are found in most of these commercials. All right. It's usually in, first of all, they take the myth and it's usually in a short story form, mini stories, because they have to be. They're commercials. Most commercials don't last more than 30 seconds. Like I said, Super Bowl commercials can last longer to a minute or so. They've taken that to a whole other level, but they usually have a short amount of time. And it usually has characters in it. There's got a place. There's a plot to the commercial. They want to not just advertise that commercial. They have got to set it up. All right, and we as people love stories, so they even incorporate it into these short little commercials because we can't get enough of stories. Number two, most stories, if you think about it, involve some sort of conflict. It's usually the best stories have conflict. That's a very important element that they also include in this. So a lot of times there's some sort of conflict. It could be between a couple of characters or groups of characters or against certain values, people. There's always some sort of conflict involved. Think about there used to be a Crest commercial and the cavity creeps, and only the Crest team could fight the cavity creeps. Oh no, they'll save the day. Have good dental hygiene. Take a look at this.
Oh no, cavity creep!
Hurry, the Crest sub.
Crest now, cavity creep spotted.
We make holes in teeth.
And then, of course, by the end of that commercial, it is usually resolved. Sometimes they have a series of commercials like the Super Bowl, but most of them aren't that way. Got to get it done in that 30 seconds. By the time that thing is over, oh, it saved the day. The product or service has saved the day. Isn't that amazing? Because you used that specific product or that specific service, you saved the day. Isn't it wonderful? It's all taken care of in 30 seconds. This is a formula that has been used time and again, will continue to be used time and again. Now, I'm not saying that people are just gullible and believe everything, but it goes to the same thinking that when you're watching a movie or watching a television show, there's not flying people around or zombies are going to come out and start attacking you. It's that suspension of belief to enjoy the story that you're watching. And that's what these ads are all about. So they take that into consideration too. Now, another big strategy, another huge, monstrous strategy is product placement. Yes, advertising does this as well. They're the ones doing that. These companies are working to get their products in. So they have movies, TV shows. Heck, they put them in comic books or video games. There's a reason that person might be drinking a Sprite, not a Mountain Dew. So Coca-Cola was able to get Sprite in there, and Pepsi wasn't able to get their Mountain Dew in there. So there is it for a reason. That's big money. Even if it's just somewhere in the scene. There's a cutaway. Somebody on the scene is making something with, a certain whipped cream, and there's Ready Whip there. There's a reason there's Ready Whip there, because the people who create Ready Whip made sure it was in there. Or it could be Kraft Macaroni and Cheese. They paid to have that one in there, as opposed to another brand of macaroni and cheese, as opposed to Baby Velveeta. And these TV shows, these movies, they make money off of that. So it's all part of it. Now there's been a big backlash because of this. It was back in the day, back in 1982, E.T. Yes, I'm old enough to remember that. I used to have an E.T. shirt too. It was black shirt and gray. A lot of people had it. It was the Reese's Pieces, where the candy they put in there. A lot of people started eating them more, and they incorporated that into their commercials afterwards using E.T. That was a big deal. In 2005, there was a civic group. They said, we think you're going a little too far with the product placement. They put out a petition, and they wanted to say, you have to put warnings in this, that there's going to be product placement in here, so people don't get duped into buying these things just because they saw it in the TV show. The FTC said you really can't do that, but the FCC proposed some rules, but they never really got passed. In England, they do have something like that, the letter P. It's got to be at the corner of the screen to say, hey, this program is going to have some product placement. Now, over the years, there have been some issues in the advertising industry. One of the biggest ones was toys and sugary cereals to children. One of the biggest times this happened was in the early 80s. I was still like in my early teen and early tween, but preteen era back then. And there were lots of anime TV shows like the Thundercats and G.I. Joe and My Little Pony and Rainbow Bright and Strawberry Shortcake. All these cartoons that were playing out all the time. But every time that program came on, take a wild guess what was being advertised right alongside during that same hour.
Half human, half animal.
Thunder, 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 thunder.
Thundercats, Mummer and Lion-O, each sold separately.
I'm Mumro, want the sword of Gundera.
With this secret power ring, battery not included, you can make Lion-O's eyes light up. With Battlematic action, you control their swords.
The sword is mine, Lion-O.
Of course, they were selling the toys that went along to that cartoon. Happened all the time. Heck, He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. The entire point for that show was because of the toys. They took it to a whole other level. But no, Hasbro toys with G.I. Joe, real American hero. It happened all the time. Then eventually they passed legislation and said you cannot, during that same show, play an advertisement for the toys of said program, of said children's program. Plus, also the sugary cereals being marketed to kids. Oh, my Lucky Charms! Oh, look at that Cookie Crisp cereal. That sounds really healthy, doesn't it? Cookies for breakfast. They're still out there, but you don't see it nearly as much. They were on all the time. Dig 'em. Sugar Bear. And I did notice also that what used to be like Sugar Smacks became Honey Smacks, or Super Sugar Crisp was Super Golden Crisp. Lots of cereals that were marketed as sugar in the title became honey or golden or something along those lines. They got away from the sugar, or frosted. That's another aspect. They kind of got away from the whole sugar thing.